Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. Let's get the light. There we go. And I want to show you guys something. So first of all, this miniature comes out of this Fun Bucket, Unicorn Dreamland Fun Bucket from $1 or Five Below. And the reason I bought these Fun Buckets is when I was making the monster manual, I always needed wings and stuff, and there's plenty of them in these. They also come with these little weird fences that have like a crown on them, slides, gateways, and some other crap. There's lots of different Fun Buckets, but this one, the Unicorns one, is where this miniature came from. And for $5, you get a bunch of parts. Might not be worth quite $5 if you can't find a use for them all. But when I first saw this, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it, but I've had them for a while. And what I want to do now is I want to make a custom mob for the Crowshriek called a Dancer Macabre. And they're essentially size large fae that dance and make you want to give up on life. And whenever you want to give up on life, that's when they take you. And you just disappear. What the worst part is, they can focus one person to be seen by. So your entire party could be dealing with a Dancer Macabre, and only one of them has any knowledge that it's there. The other ones can't see it or anything without like true seeing and stuff. So it can affect someone with the weakest save in your party. It can focus the fighter or the barbarian or whoever it might be that has that weakest will save or personality save, depending on what system you're using. So the Dancer Macabre, it is always kind of like beautiful but disturbing, and their colors are always grim and dismal. So let's start out. What I've done here is I've just primed it in black, and then gave it a rough dry brush in white. And it's not perfect by any means. But what we want to do is we want to get with like dark tones and cold tones. We want to make her look like she's well dressed but dismal. We want to do her skin in a, we'll do that first. We're going to do that in a gray color. So I have a dark blue gray somewhere. Oh, there's another English Ivy green I lost earlier today. All right, so dark blue gray. And we're going to do this, and we're going to do it in steps. So I want to thin my paint out a little bit here. So I just got a tiny dab of water there. I got to find my wet palette. So for her skin, I'm starting with this dark blue gray color, watered down. And I'm going to do all the portions of her that are flesh. Let me bring this down. There we go. So I'm just carefully... There's not a lot of flesh showing on her, unfortunately. It'd be nice if there was a little bit more, but there isn't. So it's basically just her bosom, her face, and her hands exposed. And a little bit of her armpit there. Okay. So now, oh shit, I dropped my paint. Oh, it's everywhere. That'll happen. Sometimes your fingers just don't work the way you want them to. Give me a second to wipe this paint up so I don't track it all over my shop here. Nice. All right, that was terrible. I wasted a lot of that paint. I'm going to wash my brush out. All right, so I want to use dark blues and purples, I think, to kind of get her started. So this first color I have here is Admiral Blue. It's a very dark blue. It's beautiful apple barrel paint. And I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush. And thin that out a little bit. And then I'm going to do her clothing up here first on her upper body. This is kind of a corset looking deal with some frilly sleeves. Not something I would personally wear, but you know, I'm not complaining. It wasn't my choice, and I'm not the one that has to wear it. And I'm just going to do the corset in this color and then stop there at the skirt area. Now let's look at her back, and there's not much of that showing. Just that little portion right there, and that could have been flesh even if, but I'm not sure if that was meant to be. All right, so for the skirt portion and the sleeves portion and the legs portion, I want to do something else. I just realized those legs are exposed with that blue-gray. Skin color, I mean. So I'm going to come back and where did I just put that water at? Oh, there it is. I'm going to come back and do the legs with that. I didn't realize what was going on there. Yeah, so those have like ballerina wraps around them. I don't know what you call that, like the ribbons. I'm sure somebody listening or watching knows. Just tell us what they are so we'll know, guys. Come on. Help us out. Guys, girls, whoever. Oops. So a drummer that I jammed with for a while, and we had a band, is working at the place where my wife went to go get tires on her car. Well, one tire on her car. And so she got his number. She hadn't seen him since we were dating, and I hadn't seen him since then either. And he's actually a really cool guy. He's a really talented drummer, singer, musician, producer, like everything. And he and I had a band together with another fella called The Amazing Brain Farts. And we actually did like some comedy stuff, but it was like very professional quality comedy stuff. And she ran into him, so I got his number and we started texting. So I'm really excited because I really missed the dude. He was a really cool guy. He was fun to know and he was fun to hang out with. And he was just really talented. So I'm super, super pleased about that. Part of me hopes that we can start a band, but I don't have time for that. So this is Mountain Blue. This is a lighter blue. And this is a little more of a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little more subdued blue. It's not, the blue tone is a little muted. And this is fairly wet paint in my package here, so I'm confident that I can not thin it out and use it here. I kind of know my paints from using them for years and years and years, and I know which ones are which until I get new ones. And it seems like the new ones are a lot more consistent than the old ones were when it comes to craft paint. Not as much as you would say like for Vallejo or Army Painter, but maybe like early 2000s Games Workshop. I shouldn't say stuff like that. That's not nice. I'm sure Citadel was doing the best they could, with only taking care of the fans in mind and nothing about profit margins, right? Right. We like to hope all big companies do that. Something like that. It's not a significant difference, but there's definitely a difference. We're going to come down here. We're going to hit her little ballerina shoes with that crap. And whoever sculpted this sculpted her shoes as two different shoes, which either means she's a poor dresser, she's whimsical, or they just didn't care. Now let's try those wings. And for those wings, I want to do I don't know what I want to do. Where's that dark purple at? I think I want to do her hair with that dark purple. So let's do her wings with Pavement, which is a dark gray. And then I have a glitter paint somewhere over there. And then I'm going to take the dark blue, or the dark gray, the Pavement, and then I'm going to, after the dry brush, I'm going to paint her wings with like a glitter paint. I think that'd look cool. So you're probably wondering where the Dancer Macabres came from. Well, in my world, long ago, dark gods had a lot of power. They kind of ran the world for a period of time. What happens is, in my world, religion is cyclical. Instead of being monotheistic and one god rules everything forever, in my world, a pantheon rules for a period of time, 5,000 years pretty much, and then they get replaced. And it's an organic kind of change. It happens because it's time. They're, for some reason, at 5,000 years, whatever they've done leads to their replacement. So at one point in one of these cycles, one of the evil gods offered the Fae to join them. And the fair folk, which is, like in the real world what we call Fae, the fair folk, some of them were interested in this, and this is where the practices of stealing babies and stuff like that kind of came into play during that time period. And now it's just part of their culture. But they never set out to be evil. They joined this dark god because they were promised a place, they wouldn't be a lesser race that was just a mystery in the forest. They would be a prominent race in the world. But surprisingly, most of the fair folk did not latch on to this. Some did and some did not. But one that did were called the Dancer Bells. And they were beautiful, beautiful fairies that were size large. And they were just utterly attractive to everyone who beheld them. All right, so before we get to the next step, I don't know where I put that dark blue gray at. I lost it already. Hello, dark blue gray, where are you at? Wow, I lost it already. I am terrible at everything. Okay, did I leave it on my desk? I did. I left it on the desk. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of this dark blue gray. And I want to lighten that up with a little bit of the sky blue. Okay. And then I want to make a generic bluish gray color to catch some of the details. And this should be lighter than almost every color we put on here at this point. Notice we haven't touched the hair yet. We're going to come back and do something different with the hair. So what we're doing is using that as a generic dry brush over everything, because I'm a lazy painter. And that definitely gave us some depth and some variation. Now I'm going to do that again with just the a very small amount of that sky blue. I'm going to be focusing on mostly the wings. Oh, I broke her right out of the base, off the base. That's a crisis. All right, that happened. That's not a problem. We're just going to make an emergency repair using hot glue. And then we'll come back and worry about prettying that up later. Okay. We can totally pretty that up later. That will not be an issue. We just have some minor issues with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the glue and smear that around. Make sure we have a sturdy base for it, right? Create a larger base, I should say. Sometimes things happen. You know, I just used a little bit of super glue and baking soda on that. It wasn't ideal. And we all make mistakes. So we're just going to fix that up. So we got some hot glue down there. We're just going to drag that around a little bit and create like a wider platform to hold it in place, just like that. Then we're just going to get a little super glue. I say a little, but that seems to be a lot. I didn't mean to use quite that much. And you didn't need that much for sure. Okay. Okay, there we go. Now it's never going anywhere. Should have done that on my initial paint job. I didn't. That's okay. All right, so where were we? We were doing the sky blue. I'm focusing wings. I'm going to get a little bit across her backside there. And just a little bit across the front side just to lighten her up a little bit more. Then I'm going to dump that brush. I'm going to get that paint. And I'm going to try to do those little ribbons. And I don't have to do them perfectly. I just got to trace along them a little bit. And then people's eyes will fill in the rest. As people look at it, if they're not miniature critics or painters, they're just going to see those lines and assume those are ribbons going across those. Now, if you're wondering why I lean my hand against my platform when I'm painting, one, my hands shake a little bit, and two, I have arthritis. And my hands just, especially like later in the day and when I've been doing stuff, they don't behave. And it's chilly in here too, and that doesn't help. So I found that if I can brace my hand against something, I can kind of control my hand a little better. Now, I promise you, when I was younger and my hands weren't so bad, I didn't have to do all this kind of crap to paint. But now that's just kind of what it is. So now we painted those ribbons, and they look okay. They're not exactly perfect. And then we're going to come up here with that same color, and we're going to hit a trim line along that brassiere. And there's some little like ruffles in here. Then I'm going to wipe a lot of that off, and I'm going to drag it across those ruffles. And then there's a little bit of rufflage right here and two little ribbons hanging down. And I'm just going to drag it across those instead of painting on those. See how I'm just dragging it across and picking up the 3D parts, kind of like a dry brush? Because I don't want it to go overboard. I want it to be some, look kind of natural. Back here, there's a little bit of exposed dark from where my thumb pulled it off when I was pushing her onto the base. I'm just going to paint that light blue, real light like that, and try to cover that up. All right, now let's look at that hair. Well, actually, before we do the hair, I'd like to do something with her skin. So let's get a really small brush. I'm going to get this China blue. I'm just going to get a dibby dab of that. I'm going to try to pick out a little bit of facial feature. She doesn't have much. Oh, I had way too much on my brush there. That's all right. We'll come back and fix that. All right, now let's hit that hair. So I have this dark purple called Purple Pansy. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to get a little bit of water. Tell you what, you can't watch a video or listen to the radio or anything without hearing a damn Temu commercial. Ew, ew, Temu! I'm about to punch myself in the head. I was trying to watch a movie earlier on YouTube, and every ad, I swear it must have been for Temu. Which is good that it's for Temu, because I thought it was called Temu. Kind of like Timo from League of Legends. Now you're probably wondering, why she doesn't look as dismal as I had promised. Well, that's because I don't know everything. And in my head, this color scheme was going to be dark. Plus, there's this weird shit sticking out of the side of her head over there that I'm not sure what it is. And she's got flowers on her forehead that I did not realize till now. So there are a lot of things I had not planned for in this. So, what is that flower thing? And what is that? It's like a spike going through her head. Look at that. It's like a bone piece on this side and like a bone come out. Dude, I don't even know what that's supposed to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to dry her off, and we're going to do some detail on that hair, and then we're going to come back and figure out that other situation. Now, I don't speak French fluently. Je ne parle pas le français. However, if I did, I would do this whole video in French, just to F with you. That's right. Just to F with you. You'd be like, oh my God, I think Doom turned French. But I won't. I won't turn French. Okay. And that's going to give some nice highlights and bring that hair down a tone. So it's not so dark. But it's just dark enough. I think that does what we want it to. She looks a little macabre still. Should be alright. Alright, for the flowers, I'm getting out a micro brush, a fractional brush. And I'm going to do some swaths of different colors. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get English Ivy Green. with a damp brush, I'm going to try to trace the outline of this headband deal that I just thought was part of her hair. And let's do it around the back. That's when I realized there was a flower thing on her head, when I saw this line across the back. And then I turned it around and realized what I was dealing with. Okay. Now we're going to get a dark red and try to parse out which parts of these are flowers and which parts are leaves. So we're going to call this part here a flower. Okay. We're going to call this part over here a flower. We're going to call this part here a flower. And then we're going to do this last portion. We're going to call that a flower right there. I'm going to get that green back out. And with this very small fractional brush, I would not be able to do the bone part well. So I've damped my regular brush that I use for like everything, my size 1 Army Painter brush. And whatever this weird bone thing is, I'm going to hit that with that on both sides. I assume it's a bone going through her head. Or if you're a pervert, it looks kind of like something else going through her head. Now I'm kind of regretting this miniature as I'm looking at that. Bloop! Right through her head, man. Yep, right through her head. That's crazy. How much did I pay for that? I don't know, but it was worth every penny. No, I'm just an old doofus, man. Just ignore me. All right. So let's try to salvage the base where we had to fix our problems. I'm going to get burnt umber and a larger brush. That's way too large of a brush. And a somewhat larger brush. Let's paint this base dark brown. Yeah, Tim was talking about shopping like a millionaire. Dude, I'm shopping like a $100 or maybe a $10 That's not true. I'm not that hard up, but Shop like a millionaire. Half the crap on there, you can't figure out what they're selling. I saw this awesome organizer thing for your paints and brushes and stuff. I'm like, man, look at that, $15. My wife looked at it and she's like, no, dude, it's just the one section of it. If you want to buy the whole thing, it's like $300. I was like, you bastards. I don't want to pay $300 for something I can't see, especially when you're trying to manipulate me into buying a part of it and showing me a picture of the whole thing. Little bastards. Okay. So there's going to be a salvage job on that base. You're probably wondering why I'm using so many brushes tonight. Well, I don't know. I just seem to be. Let's get a little bit of a mid-tone brown going. And do a little dry brushing-ish. Break that base up. Make it a little bit more interesting. I'm not really dry brushing, am I? No, not at all. I'm more of stippling. Whoa! All right. Where's my brush? There's my brush. Uh-oh, where's my good brush at? Oh, I put it back on the thing. All right, so we're going to need to dry this off. Let's get that pavement out. Let's hit these stones with that. To achieve that fantasy realism look. And then let's catch this little thing that her leg's attached to, which could be a bush, or it could be part of a rainbow, or whatever you want it to be. I think it's supposed to be a rainbow. I don't know. I just don't know. All right, let's get a little clear glue. Oh, the bone. All right, getting a small crappy brush. Let me get a little bit of that white. If I can steal some of that. And let's try to get that flesh tone away from that bone. Let's hit those flowers a little bit too. And her face just a little bit over there. Let's lighten it up. There we go. Hit her breasticles. Not much texture on those breasticles. That still looks like a bad thing in her head, though. All right, let's do her eyes. Now, if you've seen The Crow, I just did 2 lines coming down from each eye. You can't really see it. I can see it in real life. But I was trying to go for something like that. All right, so this is Elephant Gray. It's a light, mid to light tone gray. I'm gonna get a dibby dab of that. Okay, I think I'm going to use that to lighten her hair up a little bit more too. It's still a little bit darker than I like. Okay. All right. One last step here. Let's get some clear glue. And we're about to have our Dancer Macabre. Now, I can't imagine needing more than one of these. They're probably fairly rare and mostly extinct. And even though there's probably, very few of them running around. And I would also conjecture to say that, or make the conjecture that they're afraid of people unless they're sure they can get away with killing them. What do they do with the people that they take? Do they kill them and eat them? What do they do with them? Do they sacrifice them to some dark force? It's really hard to know. But they do have a weird bone or boner going through their head either way. So I'd like to ask you guys to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell icon, leave comments, and do all that algorithm-y stuff. I don't know how accurate that is. I've been watching videos telling me that it's terrible to have subscribers. I don't believe that, but yeah, that's what they're telling me. Also, come to the website and buy some miniatures. Not these miniatures, real Dungeon Swag miniatures. Beautiful, sculpted miniatures that are made by a dude named Sven. He's a single dad who raises a kid and makes minis, and we work with him. He is so good. The high quality resin that we buy to make the miniatures with is next level stuff. It's flexible and durable. It's not like the stuff you drop and it shatters. The first few lines we had out, we didn't really know what we were doing, and now we really have honed in and mastered the craft of printing and sending out miniatures that are going to last, and that's a big deal. And it's not cheap to do, but we don't mind. We're not really a big money grab. We're 2 dudes trying to make a business that's going to last forever, and we'd like you to be part of that. So come to our Discord and hang out with us. That'd be sick too. And otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.